The DOJ just shook the gun world. You won't believe what just dropped from the Department of Justice. Suppressors, yeah, the same ones that used to be treated like restricted contraband, are now officially recognized as being protected under the Second Amendment. And this isn't just a small policy tweak. Gun sales aren't just increasing, they're exploding. What's happening right now could completely reshape the U.S. firearms market for years to come. Hey everyone, this is Tommy from the Armory, and today we're diving into the massive shockwave set off by the DOJ's latest court filing, how it's turning the suppressor market upside down, what it means for your rights, and why this could mark the biggest shift in American gun ownership in decades. Before we jump in, hit those buttons below. Subscribe, tap the bell icon, and drop a like if you want more no BS breakdowns like this. Every click helps the channel grow and keeps gun owners informed with the facts that matter. All right, let's get into it. Section 1, DOJ's game-changing admission. I've seen plenty of legal shakeups in the gun community, but this one hit different, in a good way. Back in March 2025, buried deep in the Vandertoe v. Garland filings, the Department of Justice quietly dropped a bombshell statement. They straight up admitted something I never thought I'd hear from them. Suppressors qualify as arms under the protection of the Second Amendment. Yes, the same DOJ that's been defending the ATF's year-long backlog, tax stamps, and mountains of paperwork for decades just flipped the script. This wasn't some vague legal language either. Their statement was crystal clear. Suppressors are constitutionally protected arms. Section 2, the shockwave across America. Once that court filing hit the public record, the reaction was immediate. Gun owners, retailers, and manufacturers across the country lit up social media. Everyone realized this wasn't just another headline. It was a complete power shift. Within hours, major gun forums were flooded with posts. Local stores started reporting record traffic. Online retailers ran out of stock almost instantly. Suppressors that usually sat on shelves for months were suddenly gone overnight. People weren't just buying because they wanted one. They were buying because they knew this might be the biggest legal window for suppressor ownership in modern history. For years, the narrative was that suppressors were some kind of dangerous accessory. Now, overnight, they've been redefined as arms protected by the Constitution. That one sentence from the DOJ changed everything. And you could see the ripple effect spreading from gun counters in Texas to small-town shops in the Midwest. People were lining up, calling in orders, even driving across state lines to grab one before the prices climbed higher. The message was clear. When the government admits that suppressors fall under the Second Amendment, Americans respond fast. Section 3, why this decision matters. So what's the real weight behind this ruling? It's not just about making suppressors easier to buy. It's about the precedent it sets. For decades, the National Firearms Act treated these items like restricted, high-risk gear. You had to file paperwork, pay a tax, wait up to a year, and hope the ATF approved your application. Now, this decision undermines the entire justification for that system. If a suppressor is legally recognized as a protected arm, then any restriction, from tax stamps to registration delays, could be challenged as unconstitutional. That's why legal analysts are calling this one of the most significant steps forward for gun rights in the 21st century. The DOJ didn't just acknowledge a definition, they opened the door to dismantling decades of overreach. Section 4, political and media fallout. The moment this story broke, the media machine went into overdrive. Some outlets tried to downplay it, calling it a technical filing or procedural clarification. But make no mistake, this wasn't minor paperwork. This was the Department of Justice officially conceding ground on the Second Amendment, and that's something we haven't seen in decades. Predictably, gun control advocates went into panic mode. Several politicians started calling for emergency reviews of NFA classifications. Others warned that this decision could put dangerous devices into the wrong hands. But here's the irony. The DOJ's statement doesn't loosen safety laws. It simply admits the truth that every gun owner already knew. Suppressors don't make guns more lethal, they make them safer to use. Meanwhile, pro-Second Amendment lawmakers and advocacy groups celebrated the moment as a massive win for constitutional rights. Some are even pushing for bills that could permanently remove suppressors from NFA oversight altogether. For the first time in a long time, the political energy seems to be tilting toward freedom instead of regulation. Section 5. The market eruption. If you've been anywhere near a gun shop lately, you've probably seen it firsthand. Shelves are empty, demand is sky high, and manufacturers can't keep up. Major brands like Silencer Co., Dead Air, and Rugged have seen a spike unlike anything since the early pandemic years. Retailers report sales jumping 400% in just a few days after the DOJ's statement went public. Some dealers even started rationing orders, one suppressor per customer, just to manage the flood of new buyers. And here's what's wild. This isn't just hobbyists or collectors buying up inventory. We're seeing everyday shooters, hunters, and first-time buyers all rushing in. They're not waiting for Congress. They're voting with their wallets. Even ammo sales jumped as people prepared for more range time now that they could train quieter, safer, and more comfortably. This isn't just a sales surge, it's a statement. Americans are showing what freedom looks like when the red tape starts to fall away. Section 6. ATF on the defensive. Behind the scenes, the ATF is in an awkward spot. For years, their policies around suppressors have been built on the assumption that these devices fall under NFA restrictions, meaning you need a tax stamp, fingerprints, and a long approval wait. But now the DOJ, their own legal backbone, has basically pulled the rug out from under them. When your parent agency admits that suppressors are arms protected by the Second Amendment, it becomes nearly impossible to justify the red tape. Sources close to the legal community say the ATF is reviewing its internal guidance. Translation? They're scrambling to figure out what this means for enforcement moving forward. Some analysts predict we'll see temporary freezes or new clarification memos while they try to realign. Others think the ATF might quietly step back, letting the courts decide the next move. Either way, the message is clear. The old rules no longer make sense. The legal foundation they were built on is crumbling, and the agency knows it. This could lead to a full-blown reform of the NFA, or at the very least, a new legal battle that finally tests how far the Second Amendment really goes. Section 7. The legal domino effect. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Once the DOJ acknowledged that suppressors are arms, it set a legal domino chain in motion. Other firearm-related cases, like those involving pistol braces, SBRs, and binary triggers, now have a new precedent to lean on. If a suppressor is protected, why not a short-barreled rifle that's functionally identical to a carbine? Legal experts are already predicting a wave of lawsuits built around this logic. And thanks to the Bruin decision, the courts now have to evaluate restrictions based on historical tradition, not bureaucratic interpretation. That's huge, because there's no historical basis for taxing or restricting suppressors. None. So this one case, this one filing, could ripple outward and shake the foundation of the entire federal gun law system. Section 8. Gun owners are taking action. Across the country, gun owners aren't just celebrating, they're organizing. Online communities, local clubs, and advocacy groups are spreading the word about what the DOJ's statement really means. For years, people were told that suppressors were special tools that only elite operators or criminals would use. Now that narrative has been completely dismantled. Gun owners are educating each other on how this changes the landscape, not just for suppressors, but for all firearm accessories that have been overregulated for decades. Many are contacting their representatives to push for permanent legislative reform. The idea is simple. If the DOJ itself recognizes suppressors as protected arms, then the laws treating them like contraband are unconstitutional. This is the kind of legal and cultural momentum that movements are built on. And what's happening now isn't just about buying hardware. It's about reclaiming rights that were quietly eroded over time. Section 9. What happens next? So what's the next step? Experts predict we'll see new lawsuits popping up in multiple states, some challenging the NFA suppressor provisions, others taking aim at registration requirements. If even one of these cases reaches the Supreme Court again, we could be looking at a decision that doesn't just protect suppressors. It could rewrite the way firearm ownership is treated under federal law. The ATF and DOJ might issue clarification memos, but the genie's out of the bottle. Once the government admits these items fall under the Second Amendment, It's only a matter of time before the courts start dismantling the rest of the restrictions that don't hold up under constitutional scrutiny. Whether you're a hunter, collector, or casual shooter, this moment is historic. Section 10, Final Thoughts and Call to Action. At the end of the day, this isn't just about suppressors or a single legal case. It's about accountability, consistency, and freedom. For decades, the government has told citizens what they can and can't own based on outdated interpretations of the law. Now, that very system is being forced to face the truth. The right to keep and bear arms includes the tools that make them safer and more effective. Gun stores being wiped out overnight isn't just a sales story, it's a symbol. It shows that Americans are paying attention, staying informed, and acting fast when freedom is on the line. So if you're watching this, do your part. Stay educated, stay vocal, and support organizations that defend your constitutional rights. And of course, if you found this video helpful, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next major update on America's gun laws and your rights. This is Tommy from the Armory, and as always, stay sharp, stay free, and I'll see you in the next one.